Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is the Papa Joe Show, where Papa Joe knows. I am your host, Papa Joe, and I am joined by Nick Saponaro, the CEO and co-founder of the Divi Project. Welcome, brother. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, dude. I appreciate you being here. You are a busy man. You got things going crazy in life, and doing all kinds of fun stuff with Divi at the same time, and building partnerships and building a foundation, like I've said many times, like no one I've seen in this space do. And I'm really, really liking what you guys are doing. So thank you.
Appreciate you saying that, man.
Yeah, I've been in the space a long time, and I've seen projects come and go just like you have. And there are projects that legit try to just take people's money, and they're only focused on the money. You guys are more focused on building a platform that is for the future, of money, for the future of finance. And I wanted to kind of get into that today with some of the stuff I want to talk about. And around that is, big things is near and dear to both of us and our hearts is the money, what it is, why it is, the philosophy around money, around banking, and then, kind of get into some of the things why you guys started Divi. What was the, you have kind of done that, but like, I think people get so caught up in the charts and the price and all this other stuff. Like, that's important, but not like why Divi is Divi. Why did you guys do that kind of stuff? So, floor is yours, brother.
Yeah, I mean, where to begin, right?
Right.
I think philosophy is very important in business.
Yep.
It's something that I try to dig into, especially here in Dubai. It's very common in Dubai to meet people who appear to have everything, and to see they have this outward appearance of wealth and success, et cetera, et cetera. But it's easy to get taken for a ride by people like that.
I'm
And
sure I've seen that happen to many people out there, especially they're very much so they're very flashy. That's the other thing. You're not a really flashy person, and people don't really get that. Like, I'm not either. And like, that's one of
yeah,
those things where it's like, I don't want to be. I don't want that attention, but you're out there building something though. And I think
yeah,
that people focus too much on the money aspect of this. There is a freedom aspect to it though. There is a reason why Divi is a big deal around, especially the banking pieces, the monetary aspects of it. And I kind of wanted to, you got the Federal Reserve, you got the world banks, you got all these other things and the fiat currencies. And it's my opinion, dude, that they're all going to collapse, and things like Divi are going to be a big deal when that happens.
we're seeing it. We're seeing a lot of. It's kind of a dichotomy, right? Because you have all of this insanity happening in crypto, surrounding crypto, I should say. It's not happening in crypto at all. Actually,
Mhm.
it's all of the things that surrounded it, all the centralized exchanges, which in their own way are an unregulated version of a bank, more like a
Yeah, man.
casino almost.
Yeah, that's
Um,
a good way to put it.
but you have a lot of negative perspectives coming out around crypto. The governments of the world, especially the U.S. government, are using this to bolster their narrative that cryptocurrency is just for criminals, et cetera, yada yada yada. But if you look at the actual rate of adoption in places where cryptocurrency is most beneficial, Nigeria just outlawed Bitcoin and cryptocurrency just
Yeah.
outright, right?
Yep.
And yet adoption of Bitcoin has skyrocketed there because the central bank of Nigeria also imposed um, limitations on how much a Nigerian person can actually withdraw from their bank.
Yep.
Right. So you have this absolute control that's trying to retain its power as a state, which is like the state's primary directive, right? Is to retain control, retain power, and appear to govern. Um, but the people now have this exit path, right?
Right.
And this will be only exacerbated in Western world as well, as CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies,
Yep.
start to arise.
Dude,
And
I
we can
say that
definitely
all the
jump into that.
I was to say I say that all the time. Like, when often my regular listeners and stuff, they know it, but like, I really feel like, there's the gold and silver aspect, but when this entire system that they have built has been running way too long as far as fiat currencies are concerned, from a monetary history aspect, 100% of fiat currencies fail, and this one is now failing because people have what I like to call an exit strategy. I get asked often, what's my exit strategy with Bitcoin and crypto and Divi, whatever else. And it's like, I don't have an exit strategy for crypto. My exit strategy is out of the dollar because they've inflated, inflation's a hidden tax, right? They've inflated the currency so much. You have to spend double, triple, quadruple, and a lot more now, even for the same commodities that you paid for last year, year before last. And that commodity supply didn't change. I mean,
Right.
maybe it has artificially, but it hasn't actually changed. Tomatoes is still a tomato. A, you know, a gallon of gas is still a gallon of gas, but it's costing more because they inflated the money. And that's why I get back to crypto and why, like you're saying, like other parts of the world, I think it's going to happen in the U.S. too. When the markets fail, you're going to see, uh, a mass exodus, I think, out of the dollar into crypto, and it's going to not just be Bitcoin. Bitcoin will be a big one. I don't think it'll be the CBDCs that they run to. I think that they're looking at China. A lot of people looking at China going, that's a control mechanism. They literally
Yeah.
have, you got to spend it and I'm in this amount of time. They're tracking what you're doing, where you're going, that kind of stuff. That's just, who wants that? And like you're saying in Nigeria, they don't want the CBDCs. Even if they're being
Yeah.
forced, they're going to crypto. And that's one of the
And
big things. Go ahead.
I think one of the things that people don't recognize about CBDCs, because everybody goes, "Oh well, my phone already tracks me. I'm already,
Yeah.
I'm already doxxed. Whatever." It's not about being doxxed. It's about the fact that now, because they can track you and control your access to money, if maybe you ran too many red lights this year, sorry, your Christmas bonus is taken by us automatically.
Mm-hmm.
Your ESG rating for your company that you run, your small business has polluted the earth or the environment too much, in our
Yep.
opinion.
Yep.
And sorry, you don't have access to this loan.
Yep.
That's the danger. It's not so much the tracking; it's what the tracking enables.
Right. I think it goes back to even from like in the U.S. for the Constitution, like you have the First Amendment and the Second Amendment. You say too much online, you say too much somewhere, they hear what you don't, they don't like it, so they turn that spigot down. You don't get as much this month, kind of thing. Or
Yep.
because the UBI is becoming a big topic now as well. And then you got someone who maybe enjoys outdoor sports and like to collect the pew pews, things like that. You know what I mean? Just for algorithmic stake there. uh, and you already have one, or you've already bought enough of those metal little things. You know what you mean? You got too many of them. You're only allowed so many, and you can't go into that store anymore and buy that stuff because that's not allowed. That kind of
Yep.
stuff. And that's like in the U.S. That's a big deal because that's in our founding documents. That is your right. And if you guys and gals give into CBDCs and are okay with that, you're giving over them the ability to literally tighten that chokehold around even more and more than they already have and remove those rights just by saying you can or can't spend your money. And I think that things like crypto give us an exit strategy. It gives us a way out. Satoshi
Agreed. But I
Nakamoto.
think I
Go ahead.
think the window of opportunity is
It's closing.
closing,
Yeah.
and that's a scary thing. A lot of the on ramps are gone now. One of the biggest ones that was available to U.S. customers is completely gone, and no one's sure about these other ones. And I have no idea what's going on behind the scenes in any of these centralized exchanges, but that's the problem in general, right? So having the ability to on ramp into crypto with your fiat dollars right now is a blessing that
Yeah.
should not be ignored.
Right.
It should be taken advantage of as much as possible, and try to get paid in crypto as much as possible. Keep yourself in that ecosystem, because when that time comes, when the CBDC is your only way of transacting, and they do remove cash, and this might happen in 10 years. I'm not talking about tomorrow, but
Sure.
it will. And
Yeah.
then when it does, you'll be like, man, that retrospectively happened really quick. And I
Yep.
should have been I should have been listening to Joe and Nick.
Yeah. Yeah, man. We've been in this since I've been in it since almost the beginning. I think you have too. And like I remember back in the day where I had buddies at work and stuff where they were coming to me and like, I just loaded up all my credit cards and bought Bitcoin. I was like, you can do that? Because I was mining. I was like, I didn't realize you
Yeah,
could even buy it because I was mining it. I was just creating it. I was in it from the
right.
tech perspective. And I was just kind of sitting there going, hmm, maybe that's not a bad idea. So I did it, and that literally paid off big time. And he's I don't know where he's at, somewhere in the world, because back then it was not even $100 when he did that. I was just kind of like, wow,
Huge.
okay. So I was like, that was smart, using someone else's money to go and obtain. And that, yeah, that faucet got turned off quick, once they
Of
figured
course.
out what you were doing with it. So
Of course.
um, uh, I think people are, like you said, it's that the window's closing. You got Coinbase, you got a few other on and off ramps, and then one of the big things that you guys are trying to do is have a fiat on and off ramp in your mobile wallet, which is a rare thing. And the coolest part about what y'all have is it's immediate self custody, and that's something that I think that people are starting to realize the extreme value and importance of that self custody aspect. And I
Yeah,
think
you're
that
seeing those absolutely staggering numbers of stable coins and bitcoins and everything like that exiting the exchanges.
yep,
It hasn't
it's gonna
crippled the exchanges yet that everything is going to decentralized, because everything's not. But a huge number of people are taking it seriously for the first time, which is amazing to see.
right. I think that I actually talked about this on my show on Wednesday, is that we're going to start seeing a liquidity crunch in the
Mhm.
exchanges because of that drawdown. What was it? Binance, even if Binance had like 3 billion that was pulled out or something like that,
Yeah,
I don't know
a
how
lot.
much it continued. It was a lot. And whether, even if that was in US dollars or whatever fiat currency, that's their liquidity pool that's going away. Even if it's
Yeah,
not Bitcoin and crypto, that's their liquidity to be able to do their transactions for their customers. It's the same type of thing. And
absolutely.
and people don't realize that because these are centralized. I actually played at one point, played around with building an exchange. I stood one up just on an isolated network,
Mm.
just on a single server, just to see, one, if I could do it, and two, what it took to do it. And I was like, I don't want this headache, because I'm sitting there going, Bitcoin solves this. There's not a need for this. There's a way to trade this otherwise. Spend it, use it, whatever. There's a way to do this. I don't need. I was like, I don't want this headache. So, and I'm sure you guys dealing with the regulations and things like you've had to do, those are some serious headaches. Like, you talk about how you guys are like double check, triple check before you release something, and it's
You
important.
have to.
You
You
have
have
to.
to. Yeah, and you're checking from a regulatory perspective, but you're also checking to protect the user. You
Mm-hmm.
don't want to put technology. I mean, we see it every day in both DeFi and CeFi,
Mm-hmm.
exploits, hacks, etc., social engineering that gets people's funds lost. Sometimes like totally permanently, which is really sad to see. Outside of the obvious things that just transpired with FTX and some of the others,
Mm-hmm.
it happens just naturally as well. So yeah, I mean, it's really important to take those things seriously. But I hear a lot too, like um, it's too hard to self custody. People lose their keys. They don't take the time to learn or whatever, um, which is weird to me because
Yeah.
it's like if you take 15 minutes to understand, just how to back up your seed phrase, you could save your life savings. How long
Yeah.
did it take you to save up the money that you have that you just lost on FTX or that you just lost in Celsius? How long did it take you to make all that money? You won't spend 15 extra minutes to preserve that?
Right.
Like,
Right.
that's crazy to me.
And that's one of the reasons I actually started my company, was to help the folks who have that problem. There is that tech barrier.
Mm.
It's just to say, here's someone who knows how to schedule time, and I'll walk you through it, and I'll do it with you. And then once you got it, you figured it out. People like, there's a light bulb. It's like, that was so easy. It
Right.
really is easier than you think it is. And
Seriously. If you can write your address, you can write down your seed
right,
phrase. Like,
right. Man,
ugh.
back in my day, I say that like I'm a really old guy. I'm not. um, back in my day in crypto, there were no seed phrases. There was no way to back stuff up. I had hard drives die with Bitcoin on it. I had
Oh
all
yeah.
kinds of stuff just happen, dude. This stuff that y'all have now, with what you guys have built in your wallet, what others have tried to do, you guys have successfully watched everyone fall off those cliffs. And you're like, I'm not doing that. We're going to do this. And
Yeah.
you guys have built a platform that is so easy to use, and it is very difficult for a lot of us to realize, or to just fathom why it's so difficult for someone to self custody. Well, here's an option. Here's the best option, in my opinion. Go grab, and this is something I tell people, go grab a device that's brand new from the manufacturer and put the wallet on there, and then put that device in a safe. Don't use it for anything else. Just
Right.
custody your stuff, and that's that simple. You
And
don't
it can be
need
a cheap Android.
right,
It doesn't have to be an iPhone. It can
right,
be like
right,
the lowest end for the most part Android
right,
phone that you can get it at Boost Mobile. It's not
right,
a
right.
it's not a big investment.
I use I have multiple ones. I think my favorite one was I actually got an iPod Touch. They still make them. It's
Oh,
iOS, and it works beautifully.
that's cool.
I
Yeah,
was just
that's
like,
smart.
"Ah, there's no internet connection except for the Wi-Fi that you have, and that's it." And you could back it up, all this other stuff. There's lots of things you can do. This the encryption on it's great, all that fun stuff. It's
Yeah.
cheap. I think it's even cheaper than those Androids. So
Wow.
it's one of those
I didn't
things
even know they
where
made those still. That's that's
yeah, you
funny.
have to go onto the Apple website and go to like the music tab or whatever, and
Really?
they're actually
So
still there.
they hide it.
Yeah, it's hidden, but you can still
Uh,
use it. You can still get them.
okay. That's cool. That's really cool.
It's like a mini
Smart.
iPad, so it's kind of nice. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but again, that goes back to the philosophy, right?
right.
I mean, I have a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and one of the things that I always try to understand is like what their business philosophy is, how they're actually interacting with the other humans that we share this, you know, plane of reality with.
Mhm.
And if you stick to a philosophy, you will succeed long term, in my opinion. We from day one were always adhering to the tenets of crypto. It's not your keys, not your coins. It's self custody, be your own bank. All those things that got us, me and you, into crypto back in, for me it was 2013. You're probably the same, similar.
2011, a little bit before that.
Yeah, even
Yeah.
you're even more of an OG.
Yep.
So those things, like, still to me are constantly reaffirmed by all
Yeah.
of the things that happen both in crypto and outside. The regulated financial industry is no less fraught with fraud than the
Oh yeah.
crypto industry is.
If
We've
people only
still
knew.
had, I mean, it's all there. We've had Enron, we've had Lehman Brothers, we've had Madoff,
Yeah.
and everything in between. Those things are still perpetrated on regulated markets. So, like, just because something's like the regulated exchange, they have licenses in this and that country. So, like, it's
Exactly. It's
still a central point of failure. It's still
exactly.
a problem, and it defeats
Exactly.
the purpose.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people are starting to realize that those regulations are usually someone just paying someone else off just to get something signature, and it's just
Yeah.
moving along, that kind of thing.
And a
And I
lot of these
think,
jurisdictions will change it. They'll
yeah,
change the law. It doesn't matter. Your license today, whoosh,
yep,
gone.
not today. Yep, exactly. And that's the whole point of why blockchain technology is such a big deal. That's one of the main reasons I started back when I did, just learning how to mine, learning what it was, because the light bulb went on all of a sudden what blockchain meant for humanity. And it really is an opportunity for humanity to have freedom from that type of stuff, because you can build the regulations, if you want to call them that, into the code. And then once it's there, it's there. You can go and change it if you need to or want to down the road, but it's still there. And then you have the transparent and immutability of a blockchain. The
Yeah.
whole stuff with FTX that took place, all the funneling of money and all the stuff that they kept doing, it's like, y'all are doing this on a blockchain. You know that we can find that, and you know we can see this. It's almost like they didn't even think about that part. It's like, this isn't your regular money laundering thing. We can follow what you're doing.
Yeah. But no one was following it because it's in that silo of being a
Yep.
centralized exchange. They're able to move just account-based moves.
Yep.
They're able to grant loans off chain.
Yep.
That's a huge point of failure.
Yep.
And that's now, again, it's like, I hate to feel vindicated in times of strife for others,
But that's
but
when you, yeah.
it's like we've been saying this for years. Like, don't put your money where you can't control it. It's
Right.
just, especially when it is unregulated, there is no oversight, and even when there seems to be oversight, apparently, if you bribe people enough, they put the blinders up.
Yep.
So, and it's crazy to watch, like, Kevin O'Leary's
Yeah, that was good.
testimony, and it's like he literally describes FOMO. He's
Yep.
like, everybody was just jumping into this thing because it was the hottest new thing in the world, and, like, I FOMO'd in too. Is basically what he said.
Yeah. You did. Everyone
You're
does.
supposed to be sophisticated.
Right. Right.
Like,
Everyone does. It doesn't matter who
Everyone
you
falls for
are.
the trap.
Right. It doesn't matter who you are. And it's one of those things where it's like, everyone they want to make dollars. I'm like, no, I want to make crypto. I want everything dollar based to go into crypto because in my opinion, that's going to be the currency of the future. And I think that future is a lot closer than people realize, especially
Yeah.
since the Federal Reserve and the other world banks are actually, building their own digital currencies. They
Yeah.
can't beat you because they can't stop crypto. They can't stop, and all the SEC and the CFTC, they're talking about Bitcoin in particular. They don't ever talk about regulating Bitcoin. They just say they want to, but what they're
Yeah, but you can't.
trying to actually put forward has everything to do with the stable coins
Yeah,
or their CBDCs. They want to
of
say
course.
we're going to build a CBDC so you don't have to use these stable coins anymore, and then those will make illegal. You'll have to use this, and then we can control the crypto market. The thing is,
Exactly.
though, they can't. They can't turn off that spigot. They've tried. Look at China. Look at India. Look at other countries around the
Yep.
world who have literally blocked traffic in their edge firewalls. They're basically their country's firewalls. They blocked that traffic, and people are like, "Yeah, we're gonna change this code just a little bit, and it's gonna work." And it does,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter. And I
You
think
can
people are
always
real
make a new key for
right,
any lock. Like
right.
it's
That's the thing about
especially when
software,
you
and you know
have,
this,
of course, it's a peer-to-peer network.
right?
It's literally made to exist beyond like network infrastructure that exists that is deployed by governments and centralized companies like Amazon, Google, etc. There's a lot of like concern about a lot of the Ethereum nodes being on Amazon or whatever, but it doesn't matter. Like people will set up their own server farms. There's so much money in this industry
Oh yeah,
that it doesn't matter how many ways from Sunday you want to try to block its usage. There's always another node. There's always another computer running the software, and you only need two.
yep.
Like,
That's it. That's it. People are like, "What's going to happen if an EMF hits?" I'm like, well, I have a node that I get out every once in a while. I let it sink, and then I put it back in a Faraday cage.
right?
There's a lot of other people like me,
Tons.
you know.
And an EMF, I mean, a bomb like that is only going to affect, it could be a significant region, but it's not going to be
Right,
the globe, the entire world.
right.
Yeah.
It's still gonna
Anyway,
work. It's still gonna work. I think Musk is actually working on or has mentioned he's doing a payment system. I wouldn't be surprised if he put a stupid node on his satellites that he's got up there. Just
yeah,
drop the node on all of them or whatever, just so it's there. That
exactly.
would and it'd be something very simple and easy to do that kind of stuff. So
I've said it before. This is the now they fight you stage,
yeah,
right?
yep, yep,
That we are 100% in the throes of it. It's very clear. They have not been able to block it. It didn't die on its own as they expected it to, fade away as a fad, like bell bottom pants. It's
which
still,
is coming
it's
back
still,
apparently.
which is coming back anyway. You can't kill bell bottoms. You can't kill Bitcoin.
Nope. My wife was
uh,
talking about. She's like, "Oh, I used to wear those all the time. I see people wearing them now." I'm like, "Yeah, either something's happening in the timelines or people just, I don't know, man. It's kind of
yeah,
weird."
fashion is very cyclical. Just
Yes.
like Bitcoin is very cyclical. The price and the
Hmm.
emission schedule, right? It's all on a on a preset cycle. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's very clear the CBDC deployment and the rush to get it done. The digital yuan is in like heavy testing phase now, and there's already nations discussing with China about, I think Saudi's speaking with China about doing digital yuan based bond backed by
Holy cow!
oil and things like that. Yeah, I mean, these are huge. And that's like kind of an affront to the US dollar as
It is.
well. And
It is.
you see a lot of that now, a lot of that these days, a lot of nations saying like, well, do we want to be beholden to the dollar, which is a 100+ year currency, reserve currency. Obviously, it's much older than that, but it's been the global reserve currency
Yep.
for well over 100 years now. Look at the history.
I was gonna
I didn't
say,
make this up. Look at Ray Dalio. He
yeah.
speaks about this ad nauseum. How much longer
Yes.
will it last? How much longer can it last?
It can't
Especially
last
with the
much
monetary
longer.
policy.
Right, and that's the thing about I think people. I tell my listeners all the time, go read "The Creature from Jekyll Island" by Gilbert Griffin. If you haven't
Yep.
yet, you really, 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 really need to because it'll give you a really good understanding of what's really going on in the banking system. just on the surface level, for what it's worth. That's not even really going on under the behind the scenes kind of thing. But that, knowing monetary history, like we're talking about here, you got to understand where you're coming from. Every fiat currency, 100% of the time in history, has failed, and they fail at about the 100-year mark. For whatever reason, we're past that with the dollar, and it's because they tied it to the oil.
Yeah,
And like you're saying, guess what? You can take crypto, you can take gold, you can take other assets, and you can make it tied to oil. It's
exactly.
just as easy to be done now.
And we don't have the amount of oil that some of these other nations have. And if that is to be the most desired commodity, I mean, I know we're moving to electric, but a lot of the electric grids are still powered by fossil fuels and natural gas.
Exactly.
So it's still going to be required for a long time. It's still one of the most valuable commodities, most useful commodities on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting in a place right now that has literally trillions of dollars worth of it under the ground that I'm sitting above, right? And that's true in throughout this entire Middle Eastern region. And we're depleting our reserves in the U.S. instead of drilling for it, which
Yep.
is a whole different topic we don't
That's
need
a
to get into.
whole different topic. Yep. That was
Um,
that's really weird. I mean, I drive a diesel truck, and I'm sitting here going, this is getting really frustrating.
I bet, man. I mean, look, I was with a friend today. We filled up her car. She drives a Range Rover
Mhm,
Evoque, right? So it's an SUV, crossover, whatever.
mhm.
Filled up with super. It was the equivalent of $45 to fill an entire Range Rover with super, right?
Yeah.
With 98 petrol.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So we're talking about half the price of the United States in gas, maybe
Yeah,
less
yeah.
for a full tank of the most premium gas. Like that's a disparity that you have to pay attention to.
Yes, that is a very big thing. Like, I wasn't even on empty earlier last week, and I think it was about a quarter tank left, or maybe a little bit less than a quarter tank on, and I spent more than about $120 to fill up. That's a
Right.
big problem. I know it's
Yeah.
like,
I mean, who can afford that? That's unbelievable. Some people
well,
don't make that in their whole shift,
yeah,
at work.
yeah, a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. I think people are realizing that this gets back to why crypto is such a big deal, why the blockchain pieces are such a big deal, because we have to get past this. Really, the fiat currency around the world is crumbling. It's dying. It is going to die. It is supposed to die. We're past its due date, if you will, on that nail in the coffin kind of thing. And I think that once we get past that, people will realize crypto is that exit strategy. And like you said earlier, the window's closing though. If you don't, I'm not trying to spread FOMO here, but seriously consider looking into things like Divi, things like Bitcoin, things like these other currencies. Polygon's another one. There's really great platform. There's lots of different things, and they're actual businesses. And it's kind of
Yeah.
like, this is something people don't realize. Crypto is like stock, but it's not, because you can spend it. You can use it. You can trade it. You
Right.
can blah, 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 blah,
Exactly.
blah, right?
It goes way beyond.
Way beyond.
That's why it's not a security. It
Right.
it always has value. It always has utility,
Right.
peer to peer, at least
Right.
peer to peer, if not beyond.
Right.
And there's basically, like, I was just talking about this actually. There's basically like four aspects of market that you should basically be looking at, right? And it's liquidity, utility, demand, and volume, right?
Right.
Those are the things that essentially make any currency useful, valuable, and something that you can rely on. Of course, fiat currencies have a ton of demand and utility because you can use them everywhere on everything. Um, but a lot of, like, Bitcoin has that as well. It has a ton of liquidity. You could buy $1 million worth of Bitcoin and barely see the price move.
Right.
That's like strong, deep liquidity.
Yep.
It has tons of utility. You can use it for a ton of things, buy things, whatever. Obviously, demand is always there. Otherwise, it wouldn't still be $17,000
Right.
after all of the tumultuous
All of
past
this.
that it's had.
Right. People
It
are like,
would
it's going to keep
be,
going. I'm like, I think we might be at that last accumulation phase, because
mm,
it's about done.
it's insane because, like, you would expect it to be back at the March 2020
Yep.
lows
Yep.
by now. With everything that's happened, with all of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that has permeated this industry, it's still just like, no, It's hard money. Like, we're good.
Yep. Yep.
We don't
Yep.
want to go back to that thing.
Yep. Yep.
And the smart money's accumulating. So that's something to be said.
That is a big deal. The smart money, follow the smart money. Always follow smart money. And speaking of smart money, what's coming up down the pipe for Divi? What's we got any updates you can throw out there? Any little bones you can throw the crowd here?
Yeah, absolutely. So going back to the four tenets of a strong market that I just
Yep.
made up,
That's kind of what I
but
was
I
bringing
do
up.
believe those things are legit. So one of the things that we've been missing in Divi for a long time is liquidity. We've always had utility. A lot of people use it to stake, run masternodes, use it their businesses. Now you can play games and buy NFTs and things like that. Great. There's utility and demand for it. Awesome. Two things that we've been missing are liquidity and volume. It's a very acute problem that we've had because a lot of people do just stake for the 18% return or whatever, which means there's not a lot of coins hitting the market, and when they do, it does create some pressure on the price.
Right.
Fair. So I've been working very hard with the team to resolve that issue basically for the past 6 months, and we're finally at the point where that strategy is coming to a culminating point. I'm very
Fantastic.
excited. Very
Fantastic.
excited. So we have new market makers coming on. There's going to be a lot of liquidity. I won't say the exact number for
No
fear
worries.
of
We'll see it.
people taking advantage of it, but it's
We'll see
very
it.
high. You will see it 100%. And so will traders, right?
Yep.
So bots are looking for that kind of increase in liquidity in the
Yeah.
market, and they will go and trade, as will manual traders alike. We also have the DeFi platform coming out. So
Yep.
this is the secondary part of the liquidity strategy, because now you have a new venue through which to trade in a self-custodial manner,
Which is
stake,
huge. People don't
which is
realize how
huge.
big that is. That is a big deal.
First of its kind
Yep.
cross-chain staking, which
Correct.
so you don't lose your staking rewards by going and playing in the DeFi pools, which is awesome.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
a
it
big deal.
also you're creating an arbitrage opportunity between the CeFi and the DeFi
And
platforms,
people
right?
don't realize what arbitrage is. I have a lot of people, even like some sophisticated traders, they don't realize what arbitrage is or how important it is, and actually how encouraged it is. A lot of people are like, that sounds illegal. No, it's extremely encouraged, and it's extremely important to create liquidity in the markets. People don't realize
Absolutely.
how important that is, and quite frankly, how lucrative it is.
Exactly. I mean, it's as simple as eBay, right? If I buy an item and I sell it for a little bit more, that's arbitrage. I've
Yep.
taken on arbitrage on that item. If I got an iPhone and I sell it for $100 more, great. That's $100 in arbitrage. That's what we'll be creating an opportunity for. And there's a lot of traders that are very interested in doing that across
I
these
am one of them.
platforms.
I don't
Yes,
trade,
yeah.
but I'm interested in that. That is one of the
I'm
few things I like is arbitrage.
It's a great strategy. And I'm talking to several other trading desks that are very interested in the same thing.
Good.
So there you go. You have the liquidity. You have new ways of creating demand, and then ultimately that should create volume, right? Because you have
Right.
more people coming and trading and doing things with it, especially being on the EVM, which is the
Right.
Ethereum virtual machine. You're going to have the ability to mint NFTs and create apps and things like that within the Web3 space using Divi for the first time.
That's a
Sweet,
huge deal
awesome.
too, guys. Guys, that's a huge deal. That's something that Divi has built. You guys have built a platform underneath this, kind of like Polygon did a little bit. They took a long time to build their platform, except they have missed, I think, the aspect in the wallet. They've missed that around having that in the hand, which is where the next generation's going.
Yeah,
You can still stake in their platform, but it's through their portal online through a website. Not
right.
knocking that, it's great, but they built a foundation and it's been massively adopted. You guys are doing the same thing, except y'all are taking mistakes or misses that maybe something like they did, and y'all are building those out. And you're saying, hey, that next generation, which is going to be the next shopper, which is going to be the next person going and buying that car, buying that house, whatever, they're going to look for something like Divi, like the wallet you guys have built. And then they want all the other pieces together, and y'all are
Yeah,
providing that as well. And I think that's you guys are kind of building that one key, one ring to rule them all kind of thing.
yeah.
Compared to there, but yeah,
It's an access point for your Web3 life, right? For your
right.
digital life. I think wallet is almost like reductive at this point
It
for
is.
most of the, even beyond Divi wallet. because it really is, yes, you hold money in it, but you can do so much more. It grants you access to a variety of digital playgrounds and things that you never
Right.
had access to before. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited for 2023. Some of this stuff is already well underway and in play, but we're looking at early part of the year to really just implement this whole strategy. So you're actually the first like live show or podcast,
Yeah.
whatever that I'm talking about all of this on. I just
Well,
call
I'm
it the
honored, man.
liquidity bomb, liquidity bomb strategy.
Nice. I love it, dude. I'm honored that you picked me to do that. I really do appreciate it. It does mean a lot for sure.
Absolutely,
So,
brother.
but yeah, man. Listen, I want to be cognizant of the time and everything for you. I know you're a busy guy and you got stuff going on. So, listen, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, it means a lot. You guys go follow Nick. He's very active on Twitter, very active on, I think, not really on Instagram as well. Yeah.
Not Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I post
sort of.
stuff here and there, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm more on Twitter for sure.
More Twitter. Same here. Y'all go give him a follow. He's got a really, really cool platform. Y'all really need to look into this. So, listen, man, thanks for coming on. I do appreciate it. It means a lot. And I'll pull us out and I'll be right back.
Appreciate it.